Well, it's been almost exactly 2 years, and finally, the pandemic is dissipating. We made our choices, we learned our lessons, and it's a new dawn. And it's a new season for the year 2022, and a new time for all of us to embrace new life, new opportunities, new abundance. And while we balance our care and genuine prayer for peace and the awareness of a world that still includes unthinkable tragedy and sorrow and even war, we also are grateful for how blessed we are. And so let us use this spring of 2022 to take everything that we've learned, clear the past, and move forward in gratitude for the freedom that we have, for the blessings of our lives, for the opportunity to come together again in community, online, and yes, in person. We are all part of the awakening world, and we all have the roles that we're playing as individuals and collectively. We are the imaginal cells finding each other to create a beautiful, incredible butterfly out of the old paradigm. So welcome to spring of 2022. Welcome to the awakening world.
We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, stronger than ever, not divided. We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, hear the call, you are invited. We come from the same source, a powerful love force.
Hey, welcome everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Catamas, and I am here with one of my favorite people on the planet. It's Divine Kika. And we are doing a very spontaneous Facebook Live to talk about dating. And I'm going to go right to Kika because, Kika, you've had some pretty interesting experiences in the dating world. And we want to use today to it's going to be brief. We're only here for a half an hour, but we're going to answer any questions that might come in. And we want to give some tips, tools, and practices, and then encourage all of you to come back on Thursday night for a much longer Facebook Live. But Kika, right off the bat, tell us a little bit about maybe what you've recently experienced and what you've learned.
Oh my God. What I have recently experienced. I had fun. Let's say, so I'll get vulnerable a little bit. I was walking in Santana Row, and all of a sudden I meet this guy, very handsome. He smiles, and I continue going, and he goes, "Hey, you look like you need some sun." I'm like, "You're too big. You probably break me into pieces and throw my bones on the side." That's what I said. And I was like about to walk away because I was like, this is too much. And well, it turned out he got my phone number. And the next evening, he's picking me up on a limo. And I went out on this very fancy dinner, and I was treated like a queen. And then I had no idea this guy is like a celebrity, and there was a lot of stuff around him. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in this situation, where after the date, I had to look at it. Yes, it's exciting to be the princess and all this stuff. And going back to my values, my boundaries, what I need to feel safe. Is this person safe for me? Is this the higher route for me? And during the date, at some point, he was like a little bit, oh, I think he has a story in his head that no girl will turn him down or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I still don't know if I want this. Like, I just want to get to know you better at this point, right? And he said, oh, you're turning it around. And what I have to say, I think one of the lessons that I want to give to the people right now about this whole thing is that you are always in charge and you have to see if this works for you. Because we can be enchanted with people, we can be excited with people, we can be disappointed with people. But the number one thing that you have to ask for yourself, am I having fun? Is this working for me? Am I feeling safe? Am I enjoying this connection? Is this adding to me? Is this taking to me from me? How do I feel right now in this interaction? Because if that was a business that you're about to close a deal, you would look at all these details. But when your heart is involved, you go, oh, right? So I invite you to watch for those.
I
So,
think that's that's a beautiful point. And one of the things that I think both Kika and I like to teach people is when you're dating, be honest. Don't present an image of yourself that's not true to who you are, because then there's only going to be disappointment and disillusionment. But instead, be honest, be vulnerable, and make it safe for the other person to be honest. What are your challenges in relationship? Where do you really stand in relationship? What are you looking for? Are you looking for friendship without sex? Are you looking just for a lover? Are you looking for a partner? Are you wanting monogamy? Are you wanting to just date? Talk about these things honestly. Don't say what you think the other person wants to hear, but tell your truth. And you may be disappointed in the short run, but it's a lot better to be disappointed in the short run than disappointed in the long run.
and then I invite you to also have clarity within yourself before you go out with other people and what do you want in this time of your life, right? Like we are in different times in our lives. I could say that right now I am open to a relationship, but I don't want to focus 100% in a relationship. I have that clarity in my mind because of the things I'm doing or the thing I met somebody, and I'm going to give these examples because I think it's good for people to hear this. Very cute yogi, perfect guy, perfect guy. He was even a monk, and you know I like the monks, right? Like, and he goes, oh, I can't have any commitment right now. I'm too busy. And I said, well, let's take a step back. Let's take a deep breath here. How about you tell me that you're choosing not to be in a committed relationship at this time in your life? And I totally get it because I feel the same way. And we can hang out sometimes and that we can have fun. And that's what I choose to have with you. Does this work for you? But first, when you talk to other women, I invite you to say that. How does that feel for you? And then he goes, yeah, I actually feel much better saying that than saying I'm too busy. I am too busy, but first and foremost, I'm choosing to be busy in my life right now and do these other things rather than focus on a committed relationship. And when men say that, women can honor that he's being honest with himself. That is not a little game that he's playing or that trying to look good, like you said, right? And even as ladies, like, I'm going to change the topic a little bit. I don't like to put too much makeup or to look too good in my first date.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I like to ask people to go for a walk in the park if I can choose. It was nice, the whole glamour thing, but I think when we go for a walk in the park in like normal clothes and we can hang out and just be somewhere in nature and actually talk, and it's not about how are you impressing me, like, you know. And I always, in somewhere there, I will throw in this question, Scott, and you tell me what you think about this question. And I invite you at home, and you'll be surprised. You know, as the surprised people actually answer it sincerely. What's wrong with you that I'll find out 6 months from now?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Okay, so if I was asked that question, I'm going to be really vulnerable here.
Go right there.
So I'll answer it if you'll answer it.
All right, I'll answer it.
Well, hopefully you would find out more than 6 months from now. What would that be? I procrastinate on taxes and anything that's legal or anything like that. I completely ignore it, put it to the end, don't deal with it. I procrastinate on anything having to do with doctors, lawyers, I'm not that I don't have to deal with lawyers for any reason, but
But,
anything like that, any authority figure type stuff, I procrastinate until I absolutely have to deal with it.
so let me change the question for you, and that's exactly what I would do in the date. I would say, but what would I find out 6 months from now that is wrong with you that would affect the relationship? And that's a little
I've got such a high self-esteem because I'm a master relationship coach. So I think that I'm so fucking awesome to be in relationship with. I mean,
Isn't that great? This is what
just being honest, it's like, okay, the hard part is, can you see past the fact that I'm 66? That's the big one. Can you manage being with somebody who's older?
yeah.
That's going to be the big question. And then if somebody's really good with that, I'm awesome. But I'm also super picky.
Awesome. But just to clarify, guys, like if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, where you guys are going, I'm gonna say I learned to like have these conversations doing dates, and it's funny if somebody that goes on a date with me watches this before going on a date with me because we're gonna publish it. This is nice. But I will talk about my parents right away. I'll say, oh, I talk to my mom twice a week, or I talk to my dad often. So, do you talk to your mom? Do you talk to dad? How's your relationship with your family? But I make it casual because I will speak about it.
Yeah.
And I will say some problem. I will mention something I'm struggling with, or something that is difficult, or something, because I like to show who I really am and not show up as an alpha female that I got it all together.
Right.
And so that opens the door for the person to talk about what's going on for them, and with their story about their parents and everything, and the way they're relating to it, I can gauge their awareness, their relationships, how are they doing things.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. It's so important for us to really know what it is we really are wanting, and to be honest about that, and again, to make it safe for the other person to be honest. Certainly not to ever judge. Whatever reaction you get, don't judge it, because if you judge it or they perceive judgment, you're never going to get honesty ever again, right?
Yes.
So we got to make it really safe to be honest, and yeah, maybe leading with yourself. And actually, I did think of something. Okay, something you would find out 6 months from now about me is I probably could be hard on the person I'm in relationship with if they aren't matching the level of emotional intelligence that I have and that I want my partner to have. So I can see where that probably, like, the first 6 months, great sex, exciting, you kind of look the other way. But then after 6 months, it's like that I do need to be with somebody who's really emotionally intelligent, who takes responsibility for themselves and their actions and never plays victim. Yeah.
That's good. I probably will be, that will be something that I will be tough on too. And I can be a little bit tough. And I lose my key every now and then too. And that's really annoying. Something that I think that that is wrong with me, that I can be very harsh if I see things are not done right, or things are not right, or if that is dishonesty, or if that is manipulation. I'll call things they are as they are. It's not that I'm intolerant, but I will call it up.
Yeah.
And I will want a conversation. I will request a nice conversation. But then if it's like, if there is lies, or if there is little lies, I'm not very tolerable for that. I'm not very tolerant for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that requires emotional intelligence. And
absolutely.
And we all have our little traumas and our little things that we have to do, our little boo-boos, like you call, right? And how are we holding each other's boo-boos, and all that conversation is another thing that you guys, I remember years ago, I went down to with a dancer, this gorgeous dancers. I'm the queen of first dates, right? Like I go on a lot of first dates. And this guy took me for a hike. And I was like, wow, he's a dancer. He will be able to watch my moves and dance with me. But actually in the hike, I felt like he was pushing me to go faster than my own pace. And he was like criticizing me because I wasn't as strong going on a date as he wanted. Like he wanted to hike up here. I'm like, I'm just want to talk to you. Right? It is not an exercise. You should exercise earlier. I went to the gym right there. But I was like, how well that person is accommodating or being with you and dancing with you. In 1 or 2 dates, you can notice that and be willing to see that. It's important, right? When we are dating.
Absolutely. Yeah, how kind, how considerate. And right off the bat, this is clearly not someone who's considerate. And we want to be with people that are considerate. Here's another one early on in dating. Make it safe to talk honestly about past relationships. And notice if they speak highly of their past relationships versus if every past relationship was a total bitch or a real asshole. And if that's the latter is the case, run, run. But if somebody can go speak honestly and kindly about their past relationships and just acknowledge, she was great and I wasn't ready, or, he was a terrific person, but, he really wanted to do this and I really wanted to do that, then that's a good sign. But if they start talking really negatively about the ex, that's who they're going to be talking about you that same way down the line.
Well, they haven't resolved that within themselves. That gives you, and then again, I can name somebody else. Like I met a billionaire last year. Yeah, like crazy. I meet some crazy, like I met a football player this weekend, right? Like a famous one. Like this is like crazy stuff. But this guy, he told me that his ex-wife was crazy and she was taking drugs and and she and then I asked him, so how did you cause that to happen? What was your responsibility on her happening? Because I'm imagining you were busy and you were like trying to be a provider. That is very common. And then she felt probably lonely. Is that true? And then I started, and he's tearing up at this point. All right. But then he's like, oh, nobody ever asked me that before. I said, yeah, maybe that's something you need to consider, like, because if you understand. But this is like, oh, too deep for a first date? Well, I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than talk about, I don't care what color you like. What songs did you hear before? Like if you like rock and roll every once in a while, then if you like the color orange and if I like yellow, does that matter if we're in a restaurant? It's more important to know, hey, how do you deal when you're really upset in public?
Yeah.
Have you ever yelled at anyone in public? That's a question that is more important than what color is your favorite color.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or do you like dogs? I like dogs too. Oh my God, we both like dogs. Let's go home and make love. We both like dogs. Right? It's like, well, it needs a little more than that, right? But what I'm pointing to is that part of us that sometimes we can so want it to work. This person looks the way that I want my person to look, or I'm really lonely. And so sometimes we can project onto the other person this like deep fantasy that we're having, and we're not really paying attention to who they are. Or conversely, the opposite. We're still so hurt, or we still haven't cleared our past, that there's a veil of past pain that comes down, and I'm not seeing Kika clearly. I'm seeing my ex, right? And so, or I'm seeing women, and women are fill in the blank. So it's really important for us to really remove the lens and see that person in present time as clearly as you possibly can see them.
And I love that point. And one of the things that can be said is like, oh, you know what? I got triggered. It reminds me of something that I dealt in the past that hurt. But I'm imagining it's different for you. So tell me more how that feels. And this is stuff that I learned with you, Scott. To tell me more. I imagined blah blah blah. I really learned from you.
You did. Thank you.
Yes.
And now you're dating billionaires and famous baseball players. I mean, you know.
Oh, and I dated a monk for a while. And you know,
I know.
that's like that's not the money or the status does not dictate the heart and the person. But I do like people. Here's what is I think it's hot, and I think this is hot for everyone. What is hot is somebody that is living their purpose, that is fulfilling their purpose, and they're happy with themselves. They're satisfied with themselves. And maybe before we go out on a date looking for that fulfillment that will never be in somebody else, we need to find that purpose, that feeling good. And what was hot about the billionaire of that was the fact that it was a very happy with the life that he had, with the
Yeah.
accomplishments that he had. That there was no guilt and shame around. I did my best. I am great. There was like that feeling of I conquer something important for me and I made the world better somehow. And he felt that way. That was hot. That was attractive. And I think for a lot of us, we look in relationship for something that we want within ourselves to get better. Like if notice like you want somebody fit or you want somebody that is doing well in this area, usually we're looking for things that we want to improve within ourselves.
Yeah.
So having that clarity within yourself before you're going on a date and even expressing that, oh, it's so great that you're so disciplined with your food, or you're so disciplined with your working out. I want to be more like that. It would be great to be around you. It would benefit me this way. How could I inspire you to be better? How do you see this relationship being better for you? And these are things that we need to touch up on because they're important if we are going to grow together. How are we going to hold each other? Right? It's like one hand wash the other and the two wash the face. So how are we holding each other?
Kika, I really love that. And I want to riff on it for a minute. And then I know we got to finish. We're almost at 6:30. But two things that came up in what you were saying. One is whenever we're sexually or romantically attracted to someone, ask yourself, what is my projection or imagining of their character strengths or their virtues that I'm attracted to? He's so confident. She's so funny. She's so relaxed, whatever it may be. Now, inevitably, if we're just meeting someone, that's our projection of them. It may or may not be who they really are.
Right.
But we're sexually and romantically attracted to people that we think or we perceive have certain qualities we want to have more of in our life. So it's important to own that. A lot of the time I work with people that are married and they're feeling guilty because they're attracted to someone they work with. And so I always go there first. Okay, what is it that this person you're attracted to, what is it about them that you think is really that's hot, that's really awesome? And always, it's something they're either missing at home or they want to have more of within themselves, right? The second piece I just wanted to briefly mention, and then I give you a chance for the final word. Always give Kika the final word. Ultimately, we always have to ask, am I looking outside of myself to feel fulfilled? What's hot, like she said, and she said it, but I want to just emphasize it. What's hot is when we don't need someone. We want someone to share life with. We want someone to have great times with, but I don't need you to make me whole. Because when we've got that graspy thing, it's very unattractive. And when we're grasping, we are going to attract somebody else who's grasping. And now you got two graspies, right? Whereas when you're like really whole unto yourself, you have good self-esteem, you're going to attract somebody like that.
I love that. I love all of it. And I agree 100%. And so if you are home now, I invite you to also, if you heard this, to do things that make your heart full to give yourself opportunity to hang out, make love, cuddle, be with people that fill your heart so you're not starving. Because another danger is going out to dates and being starving for love. So allow yourself to have your connections. You don't have to wait for the one and only to have your heart full. And look for, like, start just writing about it a little bit. When you find somebody attractive, like, digest a little bit within yourself a little more. What is it that I really like about this person? Why do I like it? How does that fulfill? How do I see it working or not working, and why? And have these internal dialogues a little bit when you see yourself feeling attractive or repelling somebody. Notice why is that there for you, and work a little bit of how can you talk about your ex, saying good things, saying good things about the relationship, acknowledging where you could have been better and how can you be better in the next relationship. So this is a little bit, this is a very deep topic that we will cover Thursday night. And you're welcome to bring your questions about dating. How early should we have sex? Should I let him touch me right away? Or how could I give her the first kiss? How do I initiate that? The whole sexual dynamic. I would love to bring more awareness around that, because people are really confused. How do we go about it? And Scott will bring all about boundaries, desires, intentions. How do we set boundaries to get the love we want, the attention we want, but still feel seen, heard, and understood? And Scott is an incredible, incredible teacher, and he has a lot of wisdom. I have a high respect for the work that Scott does. And I'm very grateful that I learned from you, Scott. You literally changed my life.
Oh, thank you. And I love watching how you've just become such a wonderful teacher in your own right. You've impacted so many lives. And it's really fun being back teaching together again. So just to remind everybody, we're going to be back on Thursday night at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern. So those of you on the East Coast, you're going to have to stay up late, but it'll be worth it, because we're going to really go into the best dating advice ever. And you can come on into the Zoom room, jot down the Zoom room number, and come on to the Zoom room. It's easier for us to answer your questions if you're actually in the Zoom room with us. And we are going to answer more people's questions on Thursday night. So I love you, Kika. I will look forward to seeing you Thursday night, and we'll see all of you who are watching.
Thursday night, 8 p.m., Tantra Lounge.